if you have something like this break, it can be pretty tricky to glue this back on, especially if we just tried putting epoxy there, gluing it on. There's nothing really to hold it. It would just break again. So what we're gonna try doing is take one of these. This is a 1/2" conduit connector. We have this old broken one. What we'll be able to do is cut this right here, and then we'll cut off the little nib there. And then we'll be able to put that on, and this will give us just more structure. Stuff will actually be able to glue to, and then we'll be able to put this all back together. You can see this fits in here just perfect. So let's go ahead and cut that. So now I'll go ahead and cut this out on the metal bandsaw. It's getting hot and hard to hold, so I'm just going to take this piece of conduit and put it in there so I'll be able to still control it. So the bandsaw is just going in at an angle. It's not doing what we want it to do. So I'm just going to take a hacksaw and just cut through this by hand. That was probably faster than the bandsaw. It went really quick and we had more control. Now I'm going to go ahead and clean this up on the sander, and then we'll cut a little bit off of the conduit here. So now this piece here is nice and clean. We got our flat surface here, and we're going to go ahead and grind this little tip off here. That should do it right there. It's level with the little lip here, so it's not going to get in our way. Now we'll just deburr these edges just so it's not so sharp and it won't cut us. Now this will actually give us something to glue to. Just to get a little bit more gluing surface, I'm just going to cut a piece of this conduit off, and then we'll be able to put it onto here. Sometimes it's something cheap like this that just breaks, and it just takes a lot of work to fix it, but it's expensive if you were going to buy a whole new watering can, so just this cheap fix just works really well. So it's cut now, and we can go ahead and place it into this. So now with this piece inside of this, it will go onto the cap here, just like that, so then this will seat in there, and then we found this nut, and it goes right on top of there, just to give us a little bit more gluing. So now we just want to clean everything with rubbing alcohol so the epoxy will stick. So we're going to get a little bit on a piece of toilet paper and just start cleaning the pieces off. So with all of this cleaned up, we can go ahead and start to glue stuff together. Use this epoxy. You can get this at Harbor Freight. It's a great price. And we're just going to do a 50-50 mix. Just like that. Now let's go ahead and mix it together. I'm going to go ahead and mix these two parts of epoxy together, and then we can go ahead and apply it to our pieces. Now I can go ahead and glue these pieces together and apply the epoxy onto the conduit here. So now with the glue on here, I'm going to put this in and get that drying. Now I'm just going to take the rest of the epoxy and use that to go around the edge here, and that's what we're going to use to glue the nut on, so we'll get our surface area. So now we'll put the nut on, and it's a good idea when you're mixing up epoxy to mix it up in small batches, and then you won't have any waste. And since this is 5-minute epoxy, it can start hardening up pretty fast, so that's why we want to mix it in small batches, and because we don't want it to just start hardening on the cardboard. While this is curing here, I'm just going to mix up another set of epoxy. So now I'm going to go ahead and take the epoxy and put it around here, and then we'll glue it in place there. So make sure we have a little bit extra on this one. We want to be a little bit more generous with the epoxy, just because the fit isn't perfect. The epoxy needs to really seal here as well. So I'll get plenty of epoxy around here. Now let's go ahead and place this right in there. And then also with the remaining epoxy, I'm going to try to fill in as much here as I can. It's going to be hard to reach down there, but anything we can get down there is just going to help it be a little bit more watertight. We can add this later though. Now everything is starting to set up. It's a little bit stiffer now. This piece here is going to slide in like this. So we have some epoxy starting to mix up right here. I'll stir this up and we're gonna add this around the rim of the spout. So with this all mixed up, I'm gonna take this, put it right here, and I'm also mixing up a little bit more glue here. Just going a little bit generous with the epoxy because we need this to be flowing down. It needs to make good contact with the walls. So I'll put this all around here. Make sure you keep spinning it. I almost had that drop. Try not to let it drip. I'm gonna try to avoid that. So with all the epoxy on here, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is put this right in here. And what we're going to do is put this end up. And what this is gonna do is some of the epoxy is gonna flow back down and everything is gonna stay kind of all in that circle, and there'll be a lot of epoxy keeping that really strong. So now I have this balanced right here on this box and the bottle here, just so it's sitting flat on the nozzle there. And now we're just gonna let this sit and cure, probably for about 24 hours, but really we can take it off after maybe an hour because it'll be pretty hard by then. But we don't wanna use it until after 24 hours. Now this joint up here is real strong. It's not gonna break again, and we have plenty of epoxy in there. Now let's go ahead and water some of those plants. So to fill this up, I found the easiest way is just grabbing this tube here, and this just lets the air out whenever you fill it up. So you can scoop the water. And I like to do it before the sun comes up so that it doesn't scorch the plants, but now we can go ahead and water these, and we don't have to worry about this breaking off. Now we can go ahead and water the flowers. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We are fixing something from nothing. So if you guys did enjoy this video, I hope you guys will give it a thumbs up and subscribe.